welcome everyone. Thank you, Trever. My theme song. Don't listen to the words. It's fine. No theme song should actually listen to the words. Yeah. All right, welcome everyone. I'm going to do that awkward thing where I ask everyone to please come up and sit in the front if you can. I'm going to be sitting at that table, and I would love to be seated with other people as well. So it also helps everyone feel connected, and then you can talk to each other. No, I'm just kidding. So super awesome. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Tania Browning, and I'm super excited to have you here at 1 Million Cups. We do have the QR code at the back of the room. Again, this is how we get credit for participation. And it's just really great to showcase how awesome all of you are in participating in this really, Kim and I were talking about it, and this ecosystem that we're creating of folks that are really connected genuinely to each other and each other's projects is pretty cool. So I feel like we're totally nailing it and getting an A+, like on the 1MC report card. But they don't know if we don't scan that. So that would be awesome if you could do that sometime today. So anyways, welcome. It's the day before Thanksgiving. It's the holiday season. So I'm super grateful that you guys came out to support each other. And we have some great nonprofits that we're going to hear from today, this season of giving. And so 1MC is that collective space where we support each other 1 million cups of coffee at a time. 1 cup at a time for 1 million cups of coffee at a time. Okay, so our first presenter is Hearts with a Mission. And so we're going to go ahead and bring them up for their presentation and then question and answers afterwards. So thank you so much.
All right. Hey, guys. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. So we are Hearts with a Mission. I am Mariah Brennan. I'm the Safe Families for Children Director here in Josephine County. And Christy here is our Development Director. And Hearts with a Mission is a local nonprofit that supports youth and families in our community. Hold on while I figure out how to switch my slide. Okay, so we actually started Hearts with a Mission. Our first shelter opened in 2009, but our CEO here, Kevin, had this idea in 2006 after reading a newspaper article about how many homeless teenagers we had in the community. There's a lot of homeless teens, guys. The newspaper article said about 1,500 homeless kids in Jackson County alone in 2006. So he felt compelled to open a shelter to help some of those kids. So in 2009, we opened this beautiful house here that housed 10 to 17-year-olds, about 16 of them at a time, with the goal of family reunification. Since then, we've done a lot of growing. So we have a youth shelter in Medford still. We have 2 transitional living programs. One of them is right up here on 9th Street that houses 18 to 22-year-olds that aged out of foster care or have been experiencing homelessness. And then we also adopted the independent living program where we partner with Child Welfare to support kids in foster care with skills training. And then my personal favorite, Safe Families for Children. We now operate this program in 6 counties in Oregon, so Jackson, Douglas, Josephine, Klamath, Lincoln, and Coos County. And this is our program where we just support literally almost everybody. So we're supporting families with kids 0 to 22. And how all of our programs work is we have a case manager for each program that works with all of our families and kids that creates goals and helps them work towards those goals. However, our Safe Families program is not just staff functioned. So we actually connect with the community to vet volunteers to walk alongside families. We know that a good portion of kids in the foster care system are there because of poverty-related neglect. And that doesn't look like parents not wanting to parent. It looks like parents not having the support needed to do so. And so our goal in Safe Families is to walk alongside those families and offer them relational connection. The relational poverty in our communities is huge. And so we have amazing people in our community who volunteer to host kids for short periods of time, to mentor a new mom or dad, to mentor a teenager, take them to coffee, and just be loving community supports. That's kind of like a rundown of all of our programs. Christy has some more stuff to add, so kept it short because we don't have very much time.
Okay, I'm Christy, and I do development, and so I am going to let you know about ways you can get involved. So we have 3 ways that you can get involved with our organization right now. One of them is by volunteering. Mariah has a board here, and we send out a weekly needs list. So if you want to be a part of that, you can get the list every week and see if there's something that fits for you. So I was getting our Hearts for Seniors list in Jackson County, and I work part of the time in Grants Pass, part of the time in Jackson County, and I kept getting the list, and I saw there was a woman that wanted a brisk walker, and I love exercising, so we have partnered up. We walk every week at Twin Creek Park, and we learned to play pickleball recently, and it's been so fun. So there's something for everybody. That was for me, but we have a bunch of opportunities in Grants Pass right now, so we would love to have you look at those each week. You also have 2 things on the table here. One is our Giving Brews Days list. This is going to be happening next week, so this is perfect timing that we're here today. We have businesses that are partnering with us. They're giving either $1 back per drink or a portion of proceeds for a day next week. So in Grants Pass, we have Wild River, Zoom City Bar and Grill, The Laughing Clam, Growler Guys, Area 61 Tap House, and Rogue Roasters. And in Jackson County, we have Roxy Coffee, Roxy Ann Winery, Cartwright's Market, and Pony Espresso. So we would love to see you at one or more of these places next week. That would help us out a ton. And then the other thing you have on the table is information about our giving tree. And we have a web page where you can help youth, families, and seniors just bring them a little bit of extra joy during the holiday season. And if you go to our web page, you can see all the options for getting involved with that. So other than that, if you guys want to follow our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram, we are regularly on there, and we're putting events and volunteer opportunities, and we would love to have you check those out. And I think that's all we have today.
So we have volunteers in the community that will take teenagers on like one-on-one, take them to coffee, take them hiking, teach them a life skill. We do actually partner with DHS, so we get a lot of referrals from them, whether that's like a family that they're like, it doesn't meet our criteria to take custody, but they need some support, or it's just a teenager who's in foster care who might need a little extra support. We can't host the kids in foster care, but we can mentor them. So we do that. As far as other places that do it, I know there's a couple other organizations in town that I think also offer mentoring.
When it comes to achieving kind of your goals for Southern Oregon, what is the kind of limiting reagent? Like, is it not having enough volunteers, not having enough money, not being able to reach the kids that need you? What's that kind of one thing that's kind of most important for you?
All of the above. I would say our biggest one, though, is volunteers, because we have a lot of families that our staff just kind of take on and support until we find a volunteer. And we want it to be something our volunteers are passionate about, but also we want it to be like able to work into our volunteers' schedules. Like, you guys don't have to be professionals to support a family, and so we just want to support the best possible. And so volunteers are always a big thing. Funding, always a big thing. We're a nonprofit, so we're always looking for more money. And yeah, reaching kids has been a lot easier since after COVID. But yeah, there's always still kids that aren't in schools, or DHS hasn't touched base, that we're finding like in parks, or yeah, so. Anything else?
One more?
I can, yeah.
She already offered, so nice.
What can this community do to help support you?
Well, like I said, always volunteers. So if anybody has, like, they want to do anything, like, we're open to supporting any way we can. And we want to make it easy for people to volunteer. So if you guys are like, yeah, you know what, I can't take a kid to hiking once a week or whatever, but I can make a mama lasagna once a month, then, so, volunteers.
Would you guys come to the YMCA, you're the CEO over there, and set up a booth in a front lobby on either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday morning and just tell people about all the opportunities?
Yeah, we would love to.
Thank you.
On the lasagna thing, like, seriously.
Actual results.
Actual lasagna.
She's like, can I get someone to make me
Yeah. No, what I'm thinking is like, how many lasagnas would you need?
Uh,
No, because how many families? Seriously though, because I'm thinking like, is there an opportunity for if we had some volunteers to use a commercial kitchen to make 50 lasagnas? Would 50 lasagnas have a home?
Yeah, they would, because we could take some to Jackson County. Also, our families really like to freeze things because sometimes life's not so busy and they can make food, and other times it's like so chaotic and they're like, I don't even have time. And so that's why I mentioned lasagnas, because they're so easy to freeze. But yeah, they would have homes.
I have one other thing about the lasagna. So we're right across on 9th Street, right across from the Hillcrest Cemetery. So we have a transitional living program right there, and we have 8 beds. So there are always up to 8 kids, young adults, that are there that need dinner every night. So even if it's one lasagna, we could use it. And you could get set up on like a monthly or a weekly rotation.
And on that, we also have aftercare that we do with all of our kids that transition out of our program. So we're like keeping in touch and supporting them and like being stable as they move out. And so we even have some of those kids that could use a lasagna. I know.
Along her point of multiple lasagnas, is it possible to come there and use those teams as labor force for shopping?
Oh, yeah, actually.
Lasagnas there?
So something that we do with all of our kids in the transitional living program is we do a twice-a-month skills training, where we have people either from the community or our staff teach a life skill. So we've done like budgeting, how to like apply for a credit card, because none of our teenagers know how to do that. Filling taxes, cooking, cleaning, all of those things. Self-sufficiency.
So I would love, I'll experiment, but I've been in the mortgage industry for like 20 plus years, so teaching them about credit and banking and how and what that is. And then to your point, we had a nonprofit in Arizona that helped parents with cancer, so we ran a kitchen. So I would love to, and once a month we get volunteers together and we make like 50 meals. And then have the kids actually come because we can teach them how to make cheap meals. Like ones and dones with all the life skills and everything else. It's really cool. Great idea.
I was just going to add off of the financial piece, the World Credit Union. Have you guys connected with them? They actually have financial classes.
Yeah, a couple years ago, they did a really cool skills training for a couple of our kids where they actually helped them start savings accounts. But it's been a few years.
I'll dig up their information. And then there's all this talk of lasagna.
You guys might have to bring lasagna to the next meeting. What was that?
55. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, in Grants Pass, we have 7 currently. So 4 at our transitional living, 2 in Safe Families and Christie.
For the 6 counties.
What's your relationship with Project Youth Plus look like? You guys serve similar communities, but in very different ways.
Yeah, so they help a lot of our kids actually, especially our transitional living program kids. A lot of them come to us not finishing their education. And so a lot of our kids go through their GED program. We also have a few kids in both our Safe Families and our TLP program that are using their IDA program to help, like, buy cars, education. We actually have 3 kids in our transitional living program right now that purchased a car with that IDA program.
With which program?
With Project Youth Plus.
No, you said the IDA.
Oh yeah, so they. I don't want to mess. Do you know what it's individual? Yeah. Yeah.
For in the funding part, like, do you guys have a goal, like monthly goal that you guys are trying to reach for 2025 that you want to participate in, like finances and donations? Like, what's your guys' goal?
For the entire organization, I can't. I don't know. That might be a Christie.
Yeah, I don't know if I can share that information or not, but I could talk to you one-on-one about it afterwards. But yes, we have on our webpage, we have a donation page, and you can specify which program that you want to support, which county you want to support. Yeah, yep.
I just want to throw one piece in. These individuals are our future workforce, and we want to help them set up and be productive. And it sounds like sometimes they're not launching appropriately. And I know that North Valley has a program where they're busing students to RCC to get their CNA.
Okay.
They're actually graduate high school with a CNA and have prospects for jobs.
Oh.
They're also doing it with EMTs in the region as well. And then on top of that, WorkSource has a program with Asante and Providence, where they will pay for somebody to get their CNA 1. The hospitals will hire them and then train them for 2 and 3 so that they can step into a career at a young age. So that might be something that maybe you guys could partner with WorkSource in the state.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I would like to present you two with, this is, so for our organizations and service organizations, we have ceramic mugs for you. Now, we didn't anticipate there being 2 of you, so you're gonna have to fight over the mug and the notebook. You guys get to figure that out. But what I'll say is, thank you for presenting up here, and you are now inducted into the 1MC Hall of Fame. You're welcome, yes. Big hand, big hand. Okay, we're going to take just a quick, short break. Refill your cup, get some snacks back there, and then we'll get set up for a second presentation. All right?
Well, the reason for this season of giving, I have these dreams that I can't explain that just happen. And I was thinking about being so grateful for everything in my life and where we live and what we all do for one another. Even the opportunity with the Southern Oregon Innovation Hub has just been an absolute delight because of all the people that I get to meet in the community. And I realized that, sometimes being an entrepreneur can be very lonely. I remember times that I would have loved to have had an organization like 1MC, just somebody to talk to, because I had all these wackadoodle ideas and I just let them roll. But I was so grateful for the mentors that were in my life. And I feel like entrepreneurship, and I took some notes at 4 a.m, just so it makes sense to you all. Entrepreneurship and community service, I feel like they go hand in hand, because a lot of times in our nonprofits, people are entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial for the good work that you all do. And I wanted to shine a light on a few, missions of our local nonprofits. And so we had Hearts with a Mission, and then Doug is here and Susan with Mid-Rogue Foundation, one of the first connections that I made when I moved to Grants Pass, and big fan of their work and what they're doing. And so I just wanted to share that out. Me and the 1MC team, we really wanted to celebrate a season of giving and our communities and how really giving we are. But one of the things that was important to me as an entrepreneur was no matter what I did, I took a stewardship when I was in my bachelor's program that I always had to volunteer. And there were only a few of us that stepped up to that, and they still check up on me, by the way. So if you need anything, I'm yours. But part of it was that when we learn about entrepreneurship and we are successful in our life and so blessed, there's the other side of always giving back. I think that's that balance that's so important. So I still, to this day, have to volunteer and I have to mentor, because it's part of the stewardship I took a long time ago. And I heard it doesn't expire, because I thought it was kind of done. But anyway, I'm not. I believe that volunteering, giving back, builds even stronger connections. And I think like with the work at Hearts of Mission, I was thinking about things that I could do or offer, or teaching entrepreneurship, or fun things that we can all do. But if we don't know about it, then we don't know where we're needed and what we can do. So that I'm hoping we can showcase a few more as we go along. But anyway, I would like to present Doug Walker from Mid-Rogue Foundation to tell you about the awesome work that they're doing.
Thanks. Thank you. So my name's Doug Walker. I am a community volunteer. My background is construction. I used to be a general contractor in town, and then that evolved into the freedom to be a volunteer. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about Mid-Rogue Foundation, one of the things I volunteer with. I'm both a volunteer ditch digger, sort of whatever needs to be done in that sense, and I'm also a board member, and my boss is Susan Clark there. She's here. She's our executive director, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. I've got 5 minutes, probably 4.5 now, and then I get a coffee mug, right, under 5 minutes. Okay, slide, yes. These are our 4 projects we do. First of all, Mid-Rogue Foundation was founded by some doctors at All Care Health about 10 years ago. It was founded for the purpose of bringing in a very large grant to the community to fund IT upgrades to the local doctors' programs in town. It finished that, spent that money out, and then it went dormant, and then it was reestablished. Those doctors said, get that thing going again and focus on housing. So for the last 6-7 years, we've been focused on housing. Even though we're called a foundation, we don't have any money, unfortunately. And so that is kind of why we're here, because we do need to always ask for money. The same with Hearts with a Mission. So we have 4 programs. The first one I'm going to talk about is the third thing down. That is glary as hell. The first thing I'm talking about is the navigation services we do. We offer, we have 4 staff, and they give navigation services to people who are in need of help moving through systems. Mostly it's medical systems, because of our medical system is not that, doesn't deal with people well, or people don't deal with it well. So that's the biggest, I think the biggest activity of those navigation, that staff that help people navigate through systems. Our second project I would talk about is Foundry Village, probably slide 3, please. So we built a few years ago something called Foundry Village, which is 17 tiny homes for, go to slide 4, please. That's an aerial view of it. 17 tiny homes for homeless people transitioning out of homelessness. And go to next slide, please. So that's a better view of it while it was under construction. They are basically just little bedrooms. And then there's a community building where the bathrooms, the kitchen, the navigation services, all of the stuff happens in the community room. And the purpose for that is, A, it was cheap. We could build those little buildings pretty cheaply as we were raising money. And it forces the participants to go to the community room to get services and to socialize again. And that's a really important factor for somebody that's transitioning out of the blackberry bushes. They gotta learn how to socialize again. And so that's Foundry Village. And then our third thing we just got rolling about a year ago, can you go to the next slide? Is Evans Place. That was a house on almost 5 acres we were able to purchase through some grants with options with the big grant, which was through the state, and then also All Care Health. We bought that place. It is now a 6-bedroom house for low-income senior citizens. They're sort of room-matey, but they're in a program, basically. The reason we got Evans Place is because it came on just shy of 5 acres. Go to the next slide. And this is what we're actually currently working on, is the big project. And we've just in the past few months got the money set aside from the state to build 3 apartment buildings for veterans, 12 units each, and that is funded. What we're struggling to fund, and what I'm kind of here to say we need help with, is the building in the bottom right. It says Building D. That is the case management offices kind of building. When our budget gets squeezed, when we run out of money, which we're at the point of just getting enough money to build the apartments, that building gets squeezed out of the whole project. And so we're looking for money to fund that building. We just got a grant from the Oregon Community Foundation, a donor-directed fund from some people called the Swindells. I believe they're here in town. I know the name. I got to figure out who they are and thank them. I think it's appropriate to do that. They gave us a large chunk of money, and that's seed money to help get that thing built. The importance of that building is it's kind of the next step from somebody that's in the low-income people that are in the Veterans Village, need the skills training, need the navigation, they need the community services, they need those things that happen in that building, and that's that next step that may be like a nice to have when you're struggling for funding, but it's really important to help transition those people out of whatever situation they're into and move them on. So that project we're working on, and what I would love from any of you is connections, help, not necessarily money. If you have money, great, we take that. But as much as anything, if you know of something out there where we might get funding, or if you know of a person that might be able to help us, something like that, that is what we're going to do. Hopefully, we get enough funds to build that, and we will do what we did at Foundry Village, which is build it with volunteers. At least that's the plan, and various groups like that. So next slide is, I think, is our donation page on our website. Kat there, where's Kat? Where'd Kat go? She is our person who created our web page. She does a fantastic job. She's one of our volunteer board members who does great stuff. And then the last slide just says, thanks, questions. Yes, Brad, hi.
Everyone should know Doug got an award at the city council for just being a legend. Full presentation for all, like everything you talked about here is like barely scratches the surface of what Doug does for the community. So thank you for the community would not be one of those.
Thank you.
On the Foundry Village, what does your wait list look like? Like how big is the need versus you guys almost full? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so the wait list is as big as we want it to be if we keep taking applications. The bottleneck in this whole system is lack of housing. That is our big, there's probably one or two others, but that is the big overarching crisis in our community, is lack of housing, cost of housing. And one of the symptoms of that is homelessness, because a person making $1,000 can't find a place to live. So our wait list at Foundry, Susan can probably talk about it, she probably knows what it is, but it is as big as we want to. If we go out and ask for more applications, we could just make that file that much thicker. There's just no place for the people that are in there to transition out of. So there's this giant bottleneck. I would imagine there's probably 7 or 8 people that are competent enough to move on to some place, but there's no place for them. They haven't been able to find anything. I don't know if that answers the question or not. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, will do. Kat. Yes. Yeah, so Kat sort of commented on how people can help and how to be involved. And then she brought up a project that's coming up for, then she's doing some of the Facebook work and some of the other stuff on it, so she's volunteering with us. So the Housing Advisory Committee at the city, which is a group that helps the city revise code and make things easier to build, is putting on a series of events where we're talking to community members, theoretically those that might be ready to develop something, a duplex, an ADU, a large building, and we're going to talk to them about various new code changes in building code and planning, and then other topics that relate to that. So it's a series of events coming up that will be covering various topics that have to do with development, whether it's landlord-tenant law, code changes, the various incentives that exist to build something, or energy incentives, and all of those things. And the purpose of those events is to just encourage people to start that ball rolling and build that thing. Whatever that is they're thinking about building, whether it's a duplex or an ADU or another house, just encourage them to take that step and get that ball rolling. Thank you. And that will be out, which one's the first one? February 25th, and so far we're likely to schedule them at Wild River Pub. And they're in the evening, and pizza and sodas are presented by or paid for by All Care Health. Yes?
So that event is, I'm assuming, being promoted on Facebook, social media, but do you have contact lists where you'll be sending that information out to other municipalities that may benefit from that education?
Other municipalities, no, we haven't thought about that. We do, the city has started to compile a list of developers, and they will send it out to their email list. I think the other target audience was real estate agents, and there was another target audience too, I don't remember now. Oh, lumber yards, so they can send it out to their people. But municipalities is a good idea. We hadn't thought about that. Thank you. Yes, yes. Yeah, and we will certainly make sure the city council knows it, because they are sponsors of it. The sponsors are All Care Health, which is a fantastic community entity, does amazing things in town. And then the Chamber of Commerce, City Council, or City of Grants Pass, and then another nonprofit called Common Connections. Thank you. I had a loss for words. I know that, but I had a loss for words there. Yes, and Mid-Rogue Foundation. Yes. Yes. Yes, and to that point, this is being funded because All Care Health and Jackson Care Connect, which is the parallel entity in Jackson County, just in the recent past did their strategic planning, and part of that planning focused on housing. And this is one of the things we were able to apply for a grant from them to pay for the pizzas and sodas and the marketing to put this event on. And then I believe everybody doing it will be volunteers, except for a couple people that will get paid here and there to help put it on. But yeah. So to the point, it will be promoted in those other cities that both entities serve, which is the coast, or the idea will be proposed to them that they put on something similar. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Just throwing it out there because I just discovered it last. Have you checked into USDA at all for acquiring properties and grants that they have for homelessness? And they have information. There's a ton of stuff that they have that would benefit your company.
I have not, but I'm going to look at my boss because I'm the ditch digger. I show up with a hammer or a shovel. I don't know about grants.
Many of their grants are for communities that are 10,000 residents. So if we were to do something in a very, very rural area, right now we're focusing on gaps here in grants past, but as we expand, that's definitely something. Very cool.
So for the recording, she asked about whether we'd looked at USDA grants, and then the response was most of those grants only apply to smaller rural communities. But we are keeping an eye on it. How was that? Yes, sir.
I was just going to ask, of course you guys are probably connected with Ford Foundation, real clear. Okay. Have you guys approached regional banks to ask them if they could partner, or if there's anything? We have 6 regional banks that are willing to
I would love to talk to you about that. Yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
So yeah, we can talk after. And then my next question was for you, Susan. I just got some data from WorkSource about veterans employment in Jackson, Josephine County, so I'm happy to share that with you. It's from the state. You can use that data for your perfect. My question though is on the housing, the new complex that you guys are working with. That is solely for veterans, right?
It is 2/3 veteran restricted and then 1/3 veteran preferred.
Have you connected with like so through Jackson County Mental Health, there's a division of veteran services, also the VA, because maybe potentially there might be some funding that the VA could help pay for the housing of veterans as you guys work through?
Yeah, so I think most of that is in our pro forma already. He asked about, originally you said, have we approached banks, and please approach your bank. What's your bank?
I'm not with the bank, but I'm
Oh, okay, yes. And we do that. And then he talked about approaching the VA system itself to help with funding. And yeah, we're sort of in their channel, but I think there may be other slight offshoot channels that they have that we probably ought to explore, make sure we're exploring. Go ahead.
I just emailed the Oregon Lottery because they do set aside funds for veterans, and they put me back to the VA, and I have not heard back from them.
Okay.
But we do get NEGAP money for the building of the development, and so we have gotten some money that's specifically for veterans already, but we're going to keep looking.
Yeah. Yeah, Brad.
When it comes to ADUs in Josephine County specifically, I just want to kind of hear you talk about that a little bit. Do you feel like ADUs will solve some of the housing crisis? And I know the city's done quite a bit to work with codes and make it more attractive and feasible, but how much is that actually being built right now? And where do you feel like the restrictions are? Why isn't more happening in that space? Or is a lot happening in the space and people just don't know about it? So just kind of in general, talk about ADUs for a little bit.
Yeah, so Brad asked me to talk about ADUs, and ADU is an acronym for accessory dwelling unit, and it's basically a granny apartment on a house, or two, or a small apartment. The city and the state have codes that made it a lot easier to put those on a house. In a town, in a municipality, there's sort of two jurisdictions when it comes to construction. There's the city, or a municipality that's incorporated. It has its own planning standards. And then there's a county, and they're different and they're handled differently. And county standards are created at the state level. So the county has some control over what happens, but not very much. Most of those standards, whether you can build an ADU or not, comes from the state. And I hate to say this, but I'm not as familiar with county standards because I've been volunteering at the city for a while, and I understand city standards real well. I believe there are some occasions where you can build an ADU in the county, and then there are some you can't. And most of that has to do with, is it a hardship case, and you just have to kind of prove it's a hardship case, and you can build something. I don't think it's very hard to prove it's a hardship case, but you got to do that sort of thing. And then you get one, and there's certain distances and sort of awkwardness with the county. The city allows ADUs. The city, the currently going out of staff city council was very proactive in the housing realm and pushing things like more ADUs, making it more allowable. So the city has some very generous planning codes that allow for ADUs, 2 ADUs per house, and they've loosened the definitions of ADUs and loosened the sizes and loosened a bunch of different things. So it's much easier. As to whether it's one of the ADUs, accessory dwelling units, I think are one of the important puzzle pieces to helping our community get past the housing crisis. I think it's a very important piece, and mainly because it's less expensive than an apartment building. More people can do it. It can be done just about anywhere in town where there's a house. You're just adding on something. You're renovating a garage. You're adding on a little three rooms in the backside, and it's affordable. I think I might have covered that already. So I think it's a very worthwhile, or it's a excellent avenue to help with housing crisis. I hope more people do it. I don't know the numbers recently of the ADUs. It was ramping up over the last few years. We're probably, have you heard any numbers come out of the building department of what the number of permits have been on ADUs for the past year?
I do know we have a lot of apartments coming on.
Yeah, we do. We're about to have a big surge of apartment construction coming online. I want to say there's 4 or 5 complexes, which includes ours, over the next few years coming online. There's been a lot of work over the past 5 years creating that pipeline, and it's now about to create some actual apartments on the ground. Most of those are low-income apartments. ADUs happen to serve that next level up person. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Yes. So she wants to know about the need for Building D, which is the community services building that we want to get built. It is where the navigation services will happen when somebody in the apartment complex needs to meet with a person for whatever reason it is, whether it's healthcare related, whether it's other services they need, they can come there and have an office reserved. And I believe we'll have regularly, I think we've coordinated this with somebody at the VA where we're going to have regularly scheduled hours for their services to come there and help the people that live there navigate through the VA system. And so they need offices for that. And then they need skills training, sort of a kitchen to teach them how to cook, all those sort of things. And then there's also a social aspect to it as well, where there will be different events scheduled once in a while to have people come in there and socialize. Without that, people that struggle tend to just lock themselves in their house and don't involve themselves with things and don't sort of grow and get past maybe their anxieties or their mild paranoias or whatever their issues are. This kind of sort of encourages it, but also almost forces it. Like, okay, you got an appointment with so-and-so, you got to come to the room and have your appointment here. And so then they get to either meet other people in the community in their buildings, or they see what's going on, they see a notice on the board and everything. So it sort of forces that interaction with others, and that is a really healing thing. And we found that at Foundry Village, that's kind of the main ingredient in the secret sauce to get somebody better, is that social aspect, that get out and meet people, do things, get beyond your whatever it is that's holding you back. So that's the main reason. And it's the one thing that gets squeezed out. The budgets are always tight. Everybody knows that. And we only get so much money from the state to build this place. And so what we squeeze when we squeeze our budget is, do we have a covered outdoor area for people to smoke? Well, we might have to not have that. We want it. We want to have, because they're going to smoke. Let's give them a place to smoke outside. You know, we may have to squeeze that out of the budget. We may have to squeeze the quality of the landscaping out of the budget. And if we squeeze the budget, we're going to have to squeeze that building, or it's going to either shrink, or it's going to be eliminated, or it's just going to be an empty room, and we have to raise money later for it. Go ahead. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I agree totally. I completely agree. And that same, she talked about educating the general community about the need for that type of a service. And I think that logic applies to a lot of the different agencies that are out there doing these kinds of things. I agree totally. And it's the one thing that tends to get missed in the general conversation or thought process of the general public is that navigation service or those services that go along with, okay, now your house, but you need to be taught how to cook. You need to be taught how to clean your bathroom. You need to be taught all of these other things that we all sort of take for granted, maybe, because we grew up in a household where our parents sort of modeled that, but they maybe didn't. Yeah. And so she spoke about what the term navigation means and communicating that out to the community. And navigation in the applied sense is helping a person work through whatever it is they need to work through to get either more services or get themselves healthy. And a lot of times that's just paperwork. Paperwork is miserably difficult. I mean, we are all probably fairly sophisticated people, and we've been around laptops and we've been around paperworks and forms, and it still burns our brains when we have to do something at Social Security or whatever, insurance. Well, imagine somebody who hates that kind of thing and doesn't spell well and is very insecure, and put some forms in front of them and they run the other direction. And that's pretty common with somebody who is struggling out there. Did you have your hand up, Susan?
Kinda. I wondered if you'd speak to the vision for the building if we were able to raise the funds and pull it out before it gets squeezed out of the bigger project.
Yeah.
How you see it being built.
Yeah, so the building, if we can get enough funding to build it, it's basically sort of the front main room is a big open space where there is a variety of things that can happen, whether it's training, skills training, whether it's social, whether it's a birthday party, whether it's whatever it is, there's that big building. And then we have a kitchen area where both you can prepare food for that social event and you can also train people. And then there's a series of offices, basically. And the offices are where the navigation services happen, where somebody is there. There's the property management person that's going to be there probably full-time. I would imagine that many units would take a full-time person. And then the regularly scheduled navigation services with the VA and all of those. So then there's a series of offices. And then there's also the maintenance person would have a little storage space there as well to keep their plumbing parts in and whatnot. I don't know if, is that kind of how you want me to describe the building? You mean daycare or the students building it? Which? Oh, students building it. Yeah. So this is kind of something else. I've sort of stepped aside from the city, and I'm not volunteering there anymore. And I'm trying to work with the high schools. I don't want to overstate what we're doing, but we're trying to develop construction training programs at the high school. And so currently we've been at Gladiola High School for a while, trying to figure out how to fit into that group of students and get them onto a job site, building, housing, get them trained up in construction. And we're going to try to do the same at Grants Pass High, and then if we can, also the county schools. What we want to do is bring volunteers to that building and build that building with those high school students as well as regular volunteers. And I think that's what she was getting at. Yeah. I mean, there'll be an electrician there training, giving them the experience of this is what electricians do and this is kind of how that works and yada yada. And the same with the concrete and the plumbing and everything else. But yeah, that's my dream about it. Whether we can get there or not, we'll see. Don't know. Uh-huh. And this is GP? Okay. And what do you know his name? Go Grant Ennis. Okay. I'll ask about him. I'll be.
We always talk about how we want to break down silos.
Sure.
And what my organization is finding is that there's many, many people having these same conversations about the housing crisis. We lost 2,400 structures a number of years ago through fires. Don't feel that you guys are siloed and you guys are the only ones. And use the community partners
Right.
to seek out other people that are trying to work on solving these same issues. And just like Tania said, how can this be replicated? Maybe they have some resources or knowledge in something they can help you, vice versa. So, the city of Medford, Phoenix, there's all these communities are having these conversations at this moment right now. How do we do it? And try to connect with those organizations.
Right.
And get some more information from a One Rogue Valley region. How do we help this as a One Rogue Valley, not just our silos?
Yeah. And I agree with that. And in this world, we all bump into that constantly. Like, oh, they're doing sort of the similar thing, and they're doing sort of the same. And it is a struggle, and something we always have to try to achieve is to break the silos down and to be connected. I agree totally. Yeah, and any connections you might have, let us know. Yeah, got to be past time already, right?
Yep, let's clap.
Okay. Got warming it up just now?
Hey, before you leave the stage, Doug, I just wanted to say thank you for presenting. Thank you, Mid-Rogue Foundation, for all the work you're doing in the community. And also, I wanted to just reflect on Doug himself, because he is an incredible person. I had the pleasure of going through, years ago, over a decade ago, is when we met, and we were both part of a cohort going through the Ford Family Foundation. We were, Grants Pass was a community, right? One of the Ford Family Foundation communities, and we went through a process together. We did a project together, which was super fun, but Doug represents and embodies and is the sort of epitome of what they would hope to help create in communities. And all the work that you do and everything that you contribute to is just, it's amazing, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate Mid-Rogue for the work that you're trying to do here in the community, and have done.
I want to add that it really is a teamwork, I guess, is a easily thrown out there term, but you never know when somebody else is inspiring somebody, when you're inspiring somebody, even though you don't even know you're doing it, or you're being inspired by somebody else. So be involved, do things, say that nice thing to somebody. It helps.
Yeah, please. Awesome. Another big hand for Doug, please, and Mid-Rogue Foundation. We are a little bit over time, but that's what we do around here. We hang out with each other, right? Anybody really pressed for time and late for a meeting? Perfect. So tomorrow is Thanksgiving. You all have plans tomorrow? Yeah? If you don't, let me know. You're welcome to my place. But I wanted to share something with you that I believe is one of the most helpful things in my life that is just an incredible tool that I thought would be incredible to share on a day like today before a day like tomorrow. Sometimes we go into Thanksgiving with expectations of what we feel like it is, and then the day shows up, or family shows up, or whatever it may be, and it changes, alters course, the turkey burns, whatever it may be, right? And so I wanted to share this with you, and one of the things that I've noticed is we oftentimes carry the energy of whatever is going on or happened into our next thing, right? And throughout our days, we're always continually context switching. We're moving from one role in life to another role in life to another role in life, different hats. We all wear these different hats. And so I wanted to just briefly take you through a quick process that I think is just an incredibly powerful practice. And it can truly take and help, it can transform your whole day, but also potentially your life moving forward if you get into the practice. So here's what I want you to do. Just real quick, you can do it, you can just think, unless you need to pull out your phone to look at your calendar. I hope you know what's next in your day. But before you step into your next meeting or walk into your house after work today, or whatever your next thing is, I want you to just pause before you walk in or before you start that meeting and ask these questions quietly to yourself, and just ask, who am I to the people that I'm meeting with or walking in to see? Who am I to those people? What is my role in the relationship? Who do I want to be for them? How can I serve this situation? And then a really important one is, how do I have to show up to embody that? What do I have to bring to be this person in this relationship that I want to be? So you take that deep breath, you reflect on those answers, and here's what I want to ask you right now. While you're thinking about these questions, hopefully you're thinking about these questions and pertaining to the next thing you're walking into, I want to ask you, are you stressed about the last thing that happened right now? No. Are you worried about, the dog or tomorrow? You're not. You're focused on the present moment and what you're about to walk into. And you can't possibly be worried about this other thing if you're focused on and answering these questions, right? And that is helpful at making that transition in context. The last piece of this that truly, I think, is a transformational piece is you need to remind yourself that you're only in control of your actions, right? That you're not in control of their actions. I'm not in control of my kids or my wife. She's a lovely person, but she does her thing. I do my thing. They do their thing. I'm not in control of my team members. I'm not in control of the people who walk up those stairs and ask crazy questions. But I'm in control of my actions and how I show up. And so one of the biggest pieces is regardless of how they show up, you get to show up how you want to show up. You get to act in the way that you want to act and do the thing, take the actions that you are in control of. And so letting go of the expectations of how somebody else shows up or reciprocates your presence, right? This is one of the places it shows up the most in my life is when I get home at the end of the day. And oftentimes I'll pull up and I'll just it might have been a day, right? And I'll pull up and I'll stop and I'll go through this process and I'll think, my wife's inside, my 2 kids, it's probably been pretty crazy. I never know what I'm walking into, right? Some of you have this experience. And so, but I know that the husband I want to be, I know the father I want to be, the friend I want to be, and the kind of person that I want to walk in that front door. I know how I have to show up to be that person. And so I've come up with a little ritual when I get home. I do that, I go through that, I reset, and I walk in that door with a smile on my face. I say hello to everybody. I probably get a grumpy, or not even looked at, just a, hey, whatever it may be. I don't care. I don't care how they react. I just care how I show up. And then the first thing I do is I go right to the kitchen and I do whatever dishes are there. Because that shows that I'm there to be supportive of the environment, of the situation, to help, to take care of, to care for the people in that house. Without them having to do anything, I just show up, right? So you can do this in every relationship in your life. You can do this literally in every meeting or interaction. You decide who you are when you show up, but you have to do it intentionally. And you have to take this moment to shift gears, because if I take the, deal negotiator that I just was and into my house, I have a different experience with my kids and my wife, right? So this is incredibly powerful, and I just invite you, my challenge to you is each time you shift context for the rest of the day, just take a beat, just take a moment, ask yourself these questions. Let go of your expectation of how they're going to show up, and just walk in and be that person. And try to do it through the rest of the day. It's going to be a hard thing to remember. It's a pattern, right? But if you can, you will see. You feel different no matter how the rest of the world shows up. And that's what's important. So I wish you all an incredible day tomorrow. I also open the floor. You guys can hang out and socialize and get to know each other and ask more about these foundations. And have an incredible day. Kim?